Absolute missed opportunity here. They could have had friends say, pull yourself together, Mimi. Yeah, that was a little wild. Guy showing up with the delivery. Hold on, ma'am, I got your delivery here. Hoik. Yeah, here she is again. There was parts everywhere. It took a while to get it together. And Fran's just so, like, nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, here it is again. She screwed up again, didn't she? All right, let me open the bag. Go ahead and heal yourself. That's the odd thing there. Heal yourself. Well, why wouldn't she have healed herself before? Like, there's so many question marks in this episode that I'm not really sure if I want to get into quite yet, of like digging too much into, but I think the thing that's sticking out the most to me is really the ending of the episode, really. It's around the fact that Mimi, upon being told by Sheena, hey, friends tell each other secrets, you know, in order to be able to kind of converse with each other and whatnot and open up to each other, give each other advice, we, you know, don't keep secrets, stuff like that. Mimi wanted to tell her a secret because she knew that Sheena's now her friend. I got to do this part of it. Sheena said that friends do this. She said that I'm her friend, so I have to fulfill this part. But the odd thing here is they go out there together and she's like, don't tell anybody else. This is a big, big secret. Don't tell anybody. The reason I can't die, what? Is that I'm already dead. Forget the second part of that, which we'll get into, but the first part, the reason I can't die, unless they cut the reveal here, why would Mimi assume that Sheena knows this? The reason I can't die. Wait, hold on. Wait, you can't die? Let's get that part established first. I'm assuming that Mimi knows that Sheena knows the rumors and that Fran told her to confirm it. So this might be a thing where, you know, just before then we had Fran go up to Mimi and say, good job, you didn't tell anybody your secret yet. And she may have told Mimi, hey, I told Sheena that you can't die. Just to let you know. And that could have been an open the door for Mimi to go, okay, well, if maybe I can tell her the other part of the secret because, again, now that Sheena's told me friends do this, I have to do this thing. Friends are supposed to reveal these things to each other and be open and give each other advice and all this kind of stuff, so I have to tell her a secret. So since she knows this, here's the second part. Again, it could be that the anime is just kind of cutting out parts and there was like a lead up to this whole thing here, but the I'm already dead part, I would assume that's going to be the case. She's literally, she's blasted into bits and pieces every damn time. Now, it seems like she's conscious, because again, Fran's able to tell her, heal yourself, and so she has to be conscious in order to be able to, you know, flick the magic off and have it go off, which I'm wondering if she has to have fingers still working to do that. But she's able to just, like, regenerate herself, but that's dead. Like, what's in that bag, that's dead. I guess just, again, not, like, lifeless is the thing here. And that she's still technically alive, she's just in multiple parts and has to pull herself back together. But this doesn't really surprise me too much, and I guess they're probably going to get into the whole thing of, similar to the summer Hikaru died, for those that watched that series or read it, I'm assuming that we're going to go down that route, about the idea of what does it mean to be human, what does it mean to be consciousness, what does it mean to, you know, all this stuff. And the conflict that Sheena's going to have, similar to that series where, you know, do I befriend this monster? Is this still a being? What is again, the idea of a soul and a human? Why can't I still be friends with this thing, even though it thinks that it's dead? Mimi seems to be completely open about this. Like, this doesn't seem to be bothering her, or at least at face value. It could come later on that suddenly we realize that she's not just this little moe blob of cuteness that goes around and just is super chippery and has no semblance of urgency or anything like that for herself. She's very immature, and I'm glad that Sheena, at least in this episode, is acknowledging what the viewer is seeing. This is kind of, again, your trope, lolly, cutesy character that has no semblance of life and the value of life or anything, just slowly being taught, you know, normal things. Sheena is closed off and doesn't communicate, whereas Mimi is open, but at the same time completely lacking any sort of knowledge about how things work and social norms, common sense, things like that she's going to learn over time. They did imply somewhere in this episode that she was locked up underground for the longest time. Again, I'm guessing that at some point she gets let out, she goes out to battle, she goes back to get regenerated by Fran, then she goes back down her little tunnel, down her underground little place, comes back to fight something again, and then just at some point, again, episode 1, she swayed off that path and went over and met Sheena, and they let her kind of stay up there. But it kind of makes me wonder, where did she come from initially? And I'm guessing potentially here that Mimi was somebody that was a student. At some point, it could be that she's some sort of like culmination of multiple students too. But I'm assuming that she may have been a student that had died at some point and they figured something out. They tried some Frankenstein thing out of a corpse or maybe a magical ritual, and this is sort of, again, a test to see if it actually works. And it worked. But her past self, whatever she was before she died, is lost. So the Mimi that we see now, physically, she's some past student, but mentally and within there is a new person. And again, that's where we get into sort of the question mark that Shina's going to have going forward is, can you still love this thing? Even though Mimi is admitting that she's not her past self and that person died and she's now this new being, can Shina still love her? Can she still care for her? Can she see that she's a normal person? I think, again, with all the things we've kind of even addressed in this episode, that seems to be the going thing here, is that Shina is fearful of her. She's afraid of her, wants to get away from her. She's dangerous, dude. She just walked up and she's covered in blood and she's acting all cheerfully. I don't know. How does somebody think like that? I like that she's addressing that. Like, I don't understand this, and thus I want to get away from it. Everything inside me screams, run. This is a monster, run. She doesn't seem to care about the lives that she's taken. She's covered in the blood, and she's like, give me some rice balls. That's not normal. If that's normal, I want out of here. And that's why she fears her, wants to get away from her, but yet at the end, she keeps looking at me with a smile. She keeps cheerfully looking at me and talking to me and opening up to me. I feel like the jerk because I'm pushing her away. I feel like the bad guy here. And so I kind of want to befriend her because she's talking about how she's never had friends before. It is a nice little kind of setup they're having here between the two of them and their relationship, despite my complaints that I had last episode. But now, of course, it sucks because she's finally accepted it, and now this thing's going to now make her have turmoil again. Obviously, she's going to accept Mimi, even though she's a monster, even though she's dead. But mark my words, what's going to happen after that is that she's going to be called to battle. Shina's going to be called to battle, and she's going to see Mimi killing, and then she's going to go back to, oh, it's a monster again, a killing dead machine. I got to get away from this. It's got a lot in this episode that's kind of interesting. I really like the whole scene with the guy showing up with Mimi and just throwing the bag out there. Oh, I meant to talk about this. So guy shows up, throws the bag down. Fran's like, come on, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not lifting a finger. Heal yourself. Which that would imply that normally a Fran would, probably kiss her and regenerate her body or whatever, give her mana or something, like resonate with her. But she's like, no, don't expect me to do that. Do it yourself. Which that makes me wonder if maybe potentially it just depends on how messed up Mimi is, or I'm not coddling you anymore like I used to and helping you because I know that you fully well can do it yourself. But the thing I'm stuck on is that Fran tells her to, heal herself, and that she just flicks her finger and suddenly she's healed. I'm thinking to myself, well, why wouldn't she do that on the battlefield? Like, the guy had to, I guess because her body was separate out there, and so she couldn't. But now here, because it's all brought together, she's able to. But again, we've acknowledged the fact that Mimi healing Shina, she was able to generate a new hand. And right here, Mimi is literally regenerating her arm that's no longer there. So I'm like, why would not Mimi just regenerate herself out in the battlefield? Why would she wait until she's brought here? Unless she had to recuperate mana during that time. Or maybe potentially now that she's here, she has maybe some sort of mana absorption happening in this location. Maybe there's ley lines in the area that she's able to absorb from. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of odd that she waited so long. I think I pretty much covered the entire episode, or at least everything that I want to talk about this episode. I was kind of everywhere with this episode, but good episode overall. Having Shina kind of at first seemingly opening up to Mimi. They've been together for a month, and so it seems like they're getting very much so used to each other and living with each other, acknowledging all the kind of oddities about Mimi herself, how she always goes to the battlefield happy. Why does she always smile at me when she's leaving to battle? Having a little brief conversation between her, Adi, and Seiren, which I thought were kind of interesting. Seems like Adi is really liking the idea that Shina is now with Mimi because it's kind of helping her break out from the shell. She used to be so secluded, which implies here that the entire time these two were worried about Shina, which I got the hint of in the early episodes. It felt like they were constantly looking to Shina, kind of giving her smiles and whatnot. They seemed like they liked Shina. They even stood up for her. So it did seem like they did care for her. So it seems like now that Mimi's there, it's hopefully bringing Shina out of that shell. I like at some point, Seiren's like, don't tell anybody else that you think that way. They're going to think that you're cruel or something like that. Like you're watching this experiment happen or whatever. Interesting to kind of see their little relationship. A little bit of public display of affection that seems like Sharon doesn't like to show. She's like, whatever, let's go back to our room. She's like, let's go back to our room. Yeah, the two of them really, really close. But again, I like that little conversation with Sheena. The fact that she's talking about how, you know, she doesn't understand how somebody could behave like that. And she feels like she's a terrible person because she's not accepting Mimi, even though she's a really kind person that's opening up to her, whatever. It does seem like Audie sort of responds to that in a way of like almost relating. Says that she could understand everyone feels that way sometimes. Almost like she's had a moment where she that she wanted to push people away or at least want to run away from a situation because they don't understand how it works or why it's functioning that way. But yeah, getting back to Fran, I am kind of curious if she's sort of seeing this as being an experiment. There's a side of me that almost kind of hopes that it's that Fran, you know, does care for Mimi in the end, even though she does seem extremely cold when Mimi shows up and she's in pieces. But again, that's like that element of like, this is a normal thing. This happens all the time. She's desensitized by it. But there's like a moment where I kind of hope that there is an element that she does see that Mimi may see herself as this dead being that is not, you know, worth of having life. Now having something that she can befriend. That in the end, Fran sees Mimi as a daughter. Really is what it is. They kind of hinted that, joked about that here and there. That I'm your mom, whatever, old man. I do kind of wonder about that. I haven't really talked about that before. I do kind of wonder about that. There's just so much like shading in the chest that it seems like it's potentially going to be fake, like a suit or something like that to give an old man a chest, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I do kind of wonder about that at some time we're going to find out that Fran is actually a dude, that they maybe potentially in the past had a relationship with Omi, and that, yeah, Mimi is supposedly somehow connected to Fran, maybe potentially could have been their daughter, but again, is now resurrected this new being that it goes out and fights or whatever. And again, there could be an element there where Fran wants Mimi to be happy because, again, they see them as a daughter, and they want their daughter to be happy, even though it is this Frankenstein thing that has been resurrected and is not their true daughter. But anyways, a lot of good stuff to talk about in this episode. I think it pretty much covered everything. Some cute moments with Mimi and Sheena cleaning up and her constantly complaining. She's a little brat, just constantly wanting to read books and not clean anything up. And the moment that Fran shows up, she's like, no, I'm cleaning. No, you're not cleaning up. Shut up. Fran's ability to knock out Mimi is kind of interesting too. Just flings her around a circle and just completely messes her up. Like, he just knows how to like do that one grab to disable the dog to get to where it can't fight back. Oh yeah, I did note the fact that at some point when Mimi was outside of Fran's house, that they were in a cage. Like, there's a purposely laid out shot that Mimi was in a cage. I don't know what they're trying to imply there. It's obviously an artistic choice there to symbolize something, but I don't know. It seems like Mimi, by all signs for us, is being released from that cage. Like, she used to have to always stay on the ground. Now she's being let out into the school or the orphanage, and now she's able to hang out with Sheena. She's able to do more stuff. But I guess the fact that she's in a cage is the fact that she still has this duty that she's stuck to, which they all do. Like, you might as well put a symbolized cage over the entire freaking school. Like, what is Mimi any different? Not really, again, quite sure why they're going out of the way to show that. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Sorry, I'm all over the place this time. A lot to talk about, a lot in my mind. I kind of wanted to hit them as they popped in my head, but hopefully this all came together to some cohesive, coherent thing. But I hope you guys enjoy this video as always. As always, if you know the source material, I don't need answers to any of these questions. But I thank you guys for watching. Until next time, y'all take care.